Hello class, happy week 9. Oh, anyhow, hope you all are doing well. So this week should be an easy breezy week. I was looking at this week's learning objectives and my opinion, they're just not well written. Again, I did not write these. This week, and we've already touched upon this in prior assignments, but we're tapping into the analysis of variance model, or ANOVA. And for our intents and purposes, we only need to be concerned with the single factor or one-way ANOVA. So everything it talks about here about the effects of a single factor by blocking a second factor, examining the effects of two factors, you can ignore all that. Because honestly, on the next homework assignment, homework number 5, which is quiz based in Leo, the very first question is an ANOVA that you need to calculate, and it's a one-way ANOVA, and then that's it. And then on the final exam, I peeked in there, and there's 3 questions about an ANOVA and only 1 calculation. And again, it's a one-way ANOVA. So what does that mean? So we'll just break down this terminology. What is a factor? A factor is just the same thing as an independent variable, okay? And within a factor, you would have levels. So, for instance, let's see, I've mentioned this in previous examples, but say you had 3 different ways to teach statistics. You had online, you had face-to-face, and you have some sort of hybrid combination of the two. So there's a single factor of instruction with 3 levels. Does that make sense? And typically those levels are categorical, okay? And we use the ANOVA, again, I think I've mentioned this again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, which tells me I think this sequence of information needs a bit of tweaking. But you use the ANOVA when there's typically 3 levels or more. If there's 2 levels, you can do a t-test. You can still run the ANOVA and it's kind of becoming exactly the same as a t-test. But that's all we're going to be concerned about. In Excel, under the data analysis tool pack, you'll see ANOVA, one factor, single factor. That's all you need to be concerned with. And again, I mentioned this before, I keep repeating myself about repeating myself. When you set up your data in an ANOVA, it's got to be each level of the factor needs to be a separate column, independent of how many, if there's even different numbers of cases. And that's when we get into some talk about equal variances and unequal variances when we have equal and unequal sample sizes. So cue in on that. Okay, so that's that about the ANOVA. And I think I'll make a little video on, if I haven't done already, relevant to the next homework on how to do that ANOVA. But then there's also going to be things on that next homework assignment regarding chi-square. There's a whole bunch of questions about chi-squares. Again, I'll just give you templates for those. There's actually, if you Google chi-square calculators, there's some great websites that you just put in the number of columns and rows, and it builds a table, and you just plug your numbers in it, and you run it, and boom, you get your chi-square results. And then we're going to be getting into regression analysis as well, and there's several questions on there. And again, that's going to be super easy because for all intents and purposes, the correlation analysis and regression are exactly the same when there's a single independent variable and a single dependent variable. The only thing you look at other than that would be, and I'm getting ahead of myself because the correlation and the R-square are identical, but there's some ANOVA parts, so we'll get to that in the meantime. So if you're looking to work ahead on homework 5, don't worry, it's actually pretty easy in my opinion. So again, don't stress about the ANOVA. We're going to deal with the single factor. You know that a factor is an independent variable with 3 or more levels typically. And last thing about that critical article review assignment. Again, if you choose to do nothing, which I recommend, you'll get an 85. Check your grade calculator to see if that's worth your time. You can choose to do the assignment and try to get a higher grade than 85, or you potentially have the opportunity to do worse. So think about that. Okay, so let's have a great week 9. If you have any questions, just ask.